Hello and welcome back to the channel and a new video in what I believe is the tidiest this room's ever been. Let me just quickly walk you around the room and show you what I've been up to. So firstly, made a bit of a working area up in this corner. So these are just the lights that we used before, and this area will maybe be used for plant storage in tubs if I start selling plants again, but ultimately it's somewhere to work and film and do what I need to do. Still haven't put those stones in the black waterscape, but everything over here is pretty neat, and pretty much everything, not everything, but most things at the back are to do with sort of doing things in the room. So my clear water is the one in the middle, the dendrocare is to dust the flies, the misting bottles are for the spiders, and so on and so forth. And then looking at the black water, I've actually moved the pothos. I might move it still, but I've just currently got it clipped up and then hanging round here. So let's see how those leaves go. I might have to put a light above it. Everything else is sort of as is. I need to have a little bit of a tidy up of the bags underneath. And temporarily what I've done is moved the tubs up here. So the snails are having a bit. So the snails and my coal shrimp are having a bit of a feed at the moment. I've thrown some moss in there which will get devoured. But those mosses were just sat in tubs on the windowsill. And then I've moved this one over so I can actually see it a bit better now. And these plants were left over from the last auction and they've now transitioned to submersed. So I might do something where I give those away or sell them or whatever. But plans now then are, I do need to, I've just got a little temporary light over there, but I do need to, next phase of this is to get my 6 tanks in onto these shelves, and obviously I'll have to move the tubs again when I do that. But once those 6 are in, I can then get my other tank here, which is a surprise at the moment. So it will be the tank from the house, but I'm not putting the apistos in. The apistos are going to go in one of these tanks, not that one, a bigger tank. But keep your eyes open for that one, and we'll pick up later in the week. Hello everyone, I hope you're well. I've been struggling a bit with my back the last couple of days, really struggling, but just going to sort of go around the room. I've been out this morning to take my daughter to the dentist, but I just want to show you these rocks. So these were the rocks that were given me, and they've got a bit of algae on them. So I have managed to sort of get a wire brush. I could probably go over them again. One of the difficulties is they look really dark when they're wet, so you can't see what you're cleaning off. But from that to that, I think is pretty good. So I know I've gone over this tissue in my hands. I know I've gone over this before, but what I tend to do is spray the spiders. This tank has a little bit of a bacterial bloom, but because it wasn't, the sponge filter should have been cycled, but I think the bioloads ended up being a bit more. So what I've been doing over the last few days is a couple of mil of prime to suit that tank, and then again we'll just do the stability. So it's a couple of capfuls of stability. I haven't tested this yet, I probably should. But the last few days I've had still ammonia, but the pH is very low in there. There is a little bit of haziness to it, which suggests to me that the bacteria is starting to bloom. So I will test that in a minute. I'll flip the light on for this tub that's got the guppies in at the moment, and I can hear a weird noise, like a buzzing noise. So I need to work out what that is. But pretty much what I'm going to do, I'll just check through my tanks, see that I'm happy with everything how it is. So there is a really weird buzzing noise here. I'm not sure where that's coming from, so I need to investigate that. Just check through the shrimp. I do want to test the water on this bottom tank, because I think what I'm going to do is move my pinto out of there over to here. So that noise is really annoying. Alexa, switch off large rack.
Okay.
Alexa, switch on large rack.
I think we shall remain large rack. Which one did you want?
Alexa, switch on big rack.
Okay.
Alexa, switch off air pumps.
Okay.
Bit of a strange one, this. Okay, so I found where the sound's coming from. It's the other air pump, and I'm not sure why. So this pump's making a real big noise. Alexa, switch on small air. So I don't know what the crack was there. It's something was like humming on this rack. So I need to try and work out what that is. Now I'm hoping that the rubber hose hasn't come off, but it seems to have stopped now that I've switched it off and switched it on. So typical switch it on, off, switch it on again. I do need to top up one of the water bottles, and I do need to top up this tank with RO. So I think my plan for today is to get some RO in here. I'll do RO top ups on everything, and I'll do an RO top up on that one. Remember, this tank I'm not doing any water changes on that tank at all. So that is just going to have pure RO. I do want to think about, and I don't know if it's big enough to be honest, this little tank down here, I want to set up and just start cycling that, because I think I'm going to put the endlers in it, although it is a bit small. So, and I need to find or think of where I'm going to put the... Okay, I know where they can go. So I need to have a think about where I'm going to put the mystery snails. Now, there was 3. I lost one of them. Need to work out why. So I might separate the male guppies out, actually. But I think I'm going to get rid of the guppies altogether. The thing that I'm having here probably could take the mystery snails, but the top's gonna be left open, so I don't want an open top tank with the mystery snails. But that's sort of pretty much what I'm doing on a daily. I'm not feeding daily. I'm just sort of having a look around the tanks, making sure everything's okay. I will feed the guppies. So I will feed the guppies, and I will feed these couple of apistos. What I am looking to do is I'm looking to I've got some apistos in the house that are breeding. There's 2 or 3 different spawns in there, but they're quite small, and I was thinking of, I need to find somewhere to bring them out, to grow those young on. I need to catch them and bring them out. That's a 30-litre tank. I'm not sure if it's big enough, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with regards to that. I need to have a bit of a think about that. But another thing that I do, actually, if I can find them, is I get my forceps and go through and knock a few snails off, or limpets, just crush them really, because they do my head in. But I normally do that with and the shrimp will eat them. I normally do that with the back of a pair of forceps because it gives me a better close. But that's pretty much it. Checking on the frogs. Interesting, I have been somewhere today looking for a male dart frog for here, because I'm convinced that there's 4 females in there, and I do just check on them, see if they're okay. They're not getting fed today. They've been fed plenty, and I'll probably give a little tiny pinch of food to these cardinals. Now I have ordered the other fish for this, so it'd be interesting to see if they get imported, and if they are, I'll do a video on that. But that's me for now. Catch you in a bit. Another GB tip for you. I'm about to do some water tests on here, and what I always do with a water test, I use a syringe, and I don't just put the water in the test tube. I actually rinse the test tube out with tank water. So what that does, that sort of dilutes or gets rid of anything that's sort of left over from the last test, whatever this was used for. And then the beauty of using the syringe is you can get bang on the line. So this is an ammonia test, and from memory, well, no, it's correct. It's 8 drops of each. And while we're doing tips, I know I've done this before on a video, but while we're doing tips with these bottles or bottles, pronounce it correctly, after you take the lid off, before you invert the bottle, if you squeeze it slightly, what happens is when you do your drips, you can then let go and it sort of sucks the last drip in, so you're not over dripping. I actually caught the edge of the bottle with that one, so I'm going to just wipe that. Always good to have a bit of tissue in your pocket. It's an old man thing, I think. And then we'll give that a shake. I might do. I can see some green forming already, but I might do a nitrite test as well, just to see if it's. It has been getting lighter daily, but not as fast as I thought it might. And that sponge had been running in another tank for a good month, so I'm surprised it's not. The sponge isn't cycled. So still got a little bit of green, but it's loads paler. I'm looking forward to seeing if we've actually got any nitrite forming. It feels like the tank wasn't the sponge wasn't cycled at all. So 5 drops on the nitrite. I'm looking forward to seeing purple, because once I see purple on this test, I know that we're nearly there. It doesn't look like I've got any nitrite yet. It seems to be taking ages, but it is low ammonia. It is quite low. It's very pale. Another couple of days. As I say, the pH is sort of 5.5, and at that, I don't know, is there any colour there? At 5.5, ammonia becomes ammonium, so it's not as toxic, and this sort of detoxifies it anyway. The stability and the prime. So something interesting I did put in yesterday as well, a black water extract, because it had started to sort of lighten up a bit. I put a black water extract in to try and keep that tannin thing going, so it has done it. It's a little bit cloudy, which I don't know why. It's just sort of gone a little bit hazy. Might drop a carbon bag in the hang on, see if that helps, but it'll clear. I know we've done it too many times to know that it will. So that's me again for now. Speak to you in a bit. I've also started moving my pintos, so there's still loads left in here, and I've caught 40, so I reckon there's 60, 70, 80 in there at least. I'll let you know once I finish catching them. And they've been moved down onto this bottom one, because I've got something special coming for that tank. 68 shrimp we ended up with out of a little 25 litre tank. So I did start that colony with 10 from Daniel Siemniak, and we're just on 68. There was a lot of moss in there, so I'm going to put some flame moss up for sale on the website at a decent price, but I've got flame moss everywhere. But 68, so we're just dripping those and we'll move those over. Yeah, another GB tip: if you're going to keep, sell or count shrimp, one of these clickers is absolutely ideal. So every time you catch a shrimp, just click it. Obviously I've got 69 there now, 70 and so on, but 68 I had in that tank. Currently Sunday morning, and my task for this morning, sat down for a change, is I'm just checking through the isopods, and we're topping up with some sphagnum moss. So I've got a jug of water. I've been soaking some sphagnum moss and creating a little hydration station. So I've noticed, specifically with some of the isopods, that they're constantly, I don't know if you guys can see these, but they're constantly sort of hanging around the moss. And this isn't sphagnum in this one. So I've bought myself plenty of plenty of sphagnum. Say what's a big old isopod that. I bought myself some sphagnum and I'm literally just topping up. I will, if there's plenty of sphagnum already in there, I will just spray it down. But where there isn't any or there's not loads, I'm actually adding, you know, a good chunk. It does degrade over time, and they sort of eat it as it breaks down because they are detrivores. So just as simple as that. There's plenty of leaf litter in these, which they do eat. If there isn't enough leaf litter, then I'll put some in. Sometimes I feed, but I'm not feeding today. I don't feed every week, but I'm just checking my arm, make sure there's not one on my arm, and that is literally just the task. So let's crack on with that. And if anyone's wondering why we use sphagnum moss, it's its ability to retain moisture. So it adds an area of the tub, or that, you know, wherever you keep in the isopods, where they can go and get access to moisture, so they can drink theoretically. But sphagnum moss retains it over a long period of time, so they can sort of, I don't know how they do it. I'm assuming they sort of suck out of it because you see them on it all the time. But that's why we use sphagnum. Bought myself some cheap terracotta pots in a couple of different sizes, just so I could utilize them in a few of the tanks, specifically shrimp tanks, that I can move stuff around. And what I wanted to do was, where I'd got plants like this that were sort of transition but not doing great because they'd been in rockwool for months. Some of them done really well in rockwool. I wanted to sort of drop them into a pot with a bit of soil, cap it with a bit of sand, and move these plants over and drop them into a small tank or two. So what I wanted to do first was, I'm going to use these small ones. Now there is a little hole in the bottom, and that hole probably would let soil out, not massively. And what I wanted to do was just add a bit of mesh into the bottom first. I could use a bit of filter wool. Now I do have a little bit of SL Aqua soil, so I bought some 1 litre bags of this to try, just for using myself really more than anything. And if we make sure that the soil goes in the middle first, just sort of top that up. I might spray this down. I could plant dry, I suppose. And then if we split the plant, so there are some nice roots on this, and it has transitioned, but it will probably melt back if you transition it to another, you know, yet another tank. So it is a case of being quite careful when you tease these out. And I'm not a fan of rockwool, so I want to try and get every bit of that rockwool off if I can. Well, there's quite a bit here. I think this is new growth. These bits, I think these are new growth that have sort of grown into the rockwool. But let's try and utilize all of them in this pot if I can. Now this is the piece I've got left, but I do want to try and get as much of that rockwool off as possible. You can sort of tease it all out with a fork. I won't bother too much, it's been in rockwool for ages. And what I wanted to do was just try and sort of sit that into that pot. Try and get these little bits in as well. Drop a little bit of soil over or move it over. And then what I wanted to try and do was just cap it with a little bit of coarse sand. Now I don't want the sand too fine. It's a pity I didn't have some fine gravel, but I do have a little bit of sand here. It is quite fine actually, but let's see how we get on with this. And it's going in a tank that's got this sand in already. So I put the sand into a little jug just to make it a bit easier to pour. I don't want too much because I want this plant to be able to breathe. And let oxygen down to the roots. What I want to try and avoid is getting bits of soil then in the tank. Okay, so there's my little potted plant. Now the leaves, the sand will come off the leaves when we actually put that in the tank. I'm going to wash my hands, set the tripod up on the tank, and I'll show you it going in the tank. I'm going to try and put it in this small tank that we set up, this little leady aquarium, this Aquael leady. And I just wanted to add a little bit of colour. Now the sand that I've used is the same as the sand that's in here. What I'm sort of trying to avoid though is I'm trying to avoid where the soil gets onto the sand. But just something like that, place it down there, and hopefully that plant will get a bit of a chance to grow better in there than it sort of did where it was, just in a holding tub. It's got soil a little bit, so it'll have nutrients. And let's drop this back on. So it's got soil. I'm reaching over, guys, and you know what I'm like with my back. So apologies if I'm making a bit of a meal of that. And I've got dirty hands, so I need to clean the lid and the glass now. Let's give that a quick clean. I've got this in the way. Let's give that a quick clean. But yeah, that's the idea, and obviously the bigger pots can go in the bigger tanks and stuff, and it's just the ability in shrimp tanks to be able to move stuff about. And if I want to do a reset, especially on a Carradina tank, I can just lift the pot out. Now I know they're not aesthetically pleasing, but the point is my shrimp tanks aren't there to be aesthetically pleasing. I mean, I probably could get away with a couple of those in there. Be interesting to see how tall the small one goes. The bigger one, if I could get a bigger pot in, it probably would work. I mean, they're quite tall for such a small tank. Hopefully that little crypt will get going and sort of bush out, so it'll cover the top of the pot and sort of hang down a bit, just making it look a bit nicer. But these tanks are just for moving stuff around. Decided to do another small one with a little tiny piece of Bucephalandra. Now I know Bus is normally attached to bits of wood, etc., but Bus also drops roots into soil, so let's see how that goes. Morning, it's currently Thursday the 27th of March, and I've had a bit of a clean up in the room. I'm waiting for a friend to travel up from London. He's imported some fish for me and he's hand delivering them, but for this video we're going to call that a day, and the next video I'll incorporate, or I'll do a video incorporating those new fish. So the fish are for the Blackwater. That pretty much completes that tank. But if you're not already a sub and you want to see that, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notifications, hit the like button, drop us a comment, and we'll have a little conversation in the comments down below. Until next time, everybody, take care. Bye bye.